Welcome to Imagine Crafts, Annie Collins here. Today we'll be creating a mini Slimline gift thanks card. Let's go with some of the products I used to create this card. First we'll pull in our dies. I use from the Maker's Movement, the You Are My Jam stamp and die set, and I'm only going to use the florals from here. To quickly grab that for you. And here we are, here it is. And then the next one is going to be the Nesting Doll set. And I'm also going to just use a couple of florals. And from Trinity Stamps, the Stitch Stacked Mini Slimline set. From Tim Holtz, a stencil called Burlap. Our creative medium in metallic gold. And a variety of VersaMagic inks. We have, for our leaves, we have Sage, Sahara Sand, and Persimmon. For our florals, we'll have Purple Hydrangea and Midnight Black. And for the other floral, we'll be using Thatched Straw, Mango, and Jumbo Java. And here are the dies I'm going to use. For the smaller flower, we'll use the yellows with a brown center. For the bigger flower, we'll use the purple with the black center. And these are the leaves we'll be using. And this leaves die is from Memory Box. And so is our sentiment, which has Gift Thanks. And I cut this twice from heavyweight white cardstock and once from green glitter cardstock. And that cardstock is from Sizzix. I'm trying to give you a close-up here of the cardstock. Okay. And for some finishing touches, we're going to use from Doodles Paper Playground. This is called the Sparkle Blend. And I can't recall what it's called right now, I'm sorry. Alright, so we have our card base, which is 6x3. And then we have a layering cardstock in Kraft and another one in this like medium green, like a mossy green. And those were all die cut with our stitch, mini stitch slimline dies. And this is Accent 80-pound cardstock, and that's what we're going to use our stencil on. I have some pieces of heavyweight white scrap cardstock so that we can use that to cut our leaves and our flowers. Okay, so that sparkle blend is called Leaf Peeping. Like always, I'll have everything in the description box below. So let's get started on our project. I'm going to move everything over. Oh, and before I forget, we'll be using also our on-point glue to adhere things as well as our tear tape. Alright, so let's clear everything off the desk so we can get started on our project. First thing we're going to start with is our stenciling, because with the creative medium it takes a little bit to dry. So I have my Burlap stencil here, and I already put some pixie spray on the back of it, and I'm adhering it to the cardstock and to my media mat. This is a American Craft multimedia mat that I have on my craft desk. I'm going to pull some out with a palette knife, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply it to our stencil. Now with all media, creative mediums, the more you put, the longer it takes to dry. So I like to put some on, spread it evenly, make sure it's a nice thin layer so it doesn't take that long to dry, especially since this isn't very thick cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and peel this back. I'm going to use my pokey tool here to hold it down, and then I'm going to clean everything up. Here it is. It looks very dull or opaque right now, but when it dries into this beautiful metallic gold color. I'm going to go ahead and close my creative medium here, and I just have a piece of press and seal on it just to keep it nice and dry. I went ahead and washed my stencil and palette knife quickly off screen so that it wouldn't stay on my stencil. So we're going to start with our flowers. We're going to do the hardest thing ever and just do some blobs, just straight to cardstock blobs of ink. We start with the thatched straw, and then we put in some mango in the center. We need to do two smaller blobs with the Jumbo Java, and that will be for our centers of our flowers. When you cut out two of these in yellow and 2 of these in the brown circles. Then for our bigger flower, you guessed it, another blob, but this time it'll be with the purple hydrangea. And what you want to do is just make a swirl circle. Make sure that it's enough to cover your die. See, that's too small. I just add a little bit more. And I'm going to set this to the side to dry while I do the same thing for our to the other cardstock for our leaves. See how I'm going to place it, right like that. And then I'll die cut them. Alright. So while that's setting up to dry, we'll do the same thing. We're going to create 3 blobs. And they're going to be with the Persimmon, the Sahara sand, and sage for our leaves. And now, yes, the leaves are all connected, but I'll just cut this, moving my die to each blob here, and then cut them apart. You can cut your leaves set and then ink it, but I find when I do it this way, I get the ink to fall into all the little nooks and crannies. So I'll go ahead and run this through my die cut machine, which I have set to the side. And now that our flowers and flower centers are cut, we're going to move on to our leaves. Here are all our elements for our card. So you see all those little swirl parts, I don't want that for my leaves, so I'll cut them off. To give a little dimension to our flowers, I'm using a push pad, but you can use a mouse pad or a foam mat. And I'm just using a stylus here, and I'm just rubbing the center to kind of curl up the leaves, or the petals I should say, and giving a little more dimension to our flowers. I'm going to do the same thing to the centers, but I'll turn it onto the back side. See how cute it curls up. Alright, so I'm flipping that to the back for the centers and just giving it a little dimension so it has a nice round center, like most flowers do. Now I'm going to get my scissors and I'll snip apart. Nope, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead too far here. First I'm going to adhere my centers to my flowers, so while that dries I will cut my leaves apart. So I'm going to add that there, put a little bit of the on-point glue in the center of each of these, and put our centers in. Now this flower, if you would like, you can cut it 4 times and just make it nice and thick, but since I have the leaves there, I didn't want to add more to it. I just want them simple little flowers. So here are all those extra curly cues I'm cutting off. You can keep it if you like it, and normally I do, but I didn't want to overwhelm the bottom section here too much. These will be placed in the, I'm going to be placing these in the right, no, okay, on my left side and the bottom. So let's go ahead and adhere our sentiment. I have it cut, like I said, twice. Our heavyweight white cardstock is 110 pounds. And I'm going to stack them, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere the glitter to that. So I have a nice, thick, chipboard type sentiment. And this is a little finicky because it's a very cursive script here, but it just takes a little time, and you'll get it. Just give it a moment to adhere. And I will put an acrylic block on top of this. Once I do that, it'll set for us. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more glue right here. And then I'll just proceed to add our glitter top. And the on-point glue has a nice fine tip, so it does make it easy to add adhesive to all these little things. And I'm not putting a lot because I don't want it to ooze everywhere. I'm just putting little dots and little lines of it. Get that lined up. And once I get that going, and if you prefer to cut this using foam tape, double-sided foam, double-sided adhesive foam once, and then with the glitter cardstock, you could do it that way too. Alright, so I'm going to set this aside, like I said, and let that adhere. While that's going on, I'm going to start adding all the layers to our card base. So here's our panel, it's already dry. And now we're going to go ahead and peel off the backing of our tear tape and adhere our craft cardstock to our card base. And this is a mini slimline, which is 3 by 6. And now we'll do the same thing to the other panel. And these are all going to go in just about 1/8 of an inch, gradually going inward. And this will be a side folding card. I just turn it sideways because it's easier for me to line it up until I get to this panel. Then you'll see I don't line it up so great. I'm going to go ahead and add the tear tape. It's really easy to work with, this tape, and it's nice and thick and sturdy. There's some, tear tape that isn't so good and it doesn't adhere as well, but this one does. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and place this, and as you can see, I'm a little off center, and then I have to peel it up. Luckily, I hadn't pressed down too hard yet, so I was able to pick it up and move it over. And here we go. Now I can press it down firm, and there's our card base. So now we're going to start adhering our leaves and flowers. I'm going to go ahead and lay out my design how I want it. As you can see, I'm working on the bottom left of the card, and I'm going to put the 2 bigger leaves on the top and the bottom, and the smaller leaf in the center. I want my sentiment to be about there, and so not all the way to the top, but midway through. And then I'm going to adhere that using the On Point glue, which is perfect to adhere to our creative medium. It's a nice strong glue. It takes a little bit to dry, yes, but once it's dry, it's on there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my acrylic block on there to hold that while I work on our flowers. So I'm just going to give a little dimension to our leaves, and I'm going to add a little bit in the beginning, just a little bit. And now this takes a moment to dry, so you have some wiggle room to adjust. And then for my flowers, I'm going to add a little foam tape to each of the flowers, so that gives it a nice dimension on the bottom here. I'm going to put one small tab on each of the flowers, remove the backing, and adhere it. I'll start with the purple one in the center, and that way I can move my green leaf and work it into its position, and then adhere each of the flowers on either side. I'm bringing in some fall colors right there. So we have our browns, our greens, yellows, and a dash of purple, and that deep green from the gift thanks. So you could be done with it here because there is plenty of shimmer and shine within the sentiment and the background. But I want to go ahead and add that finishing touch with the, like I said, the Doodles Paper Playground sparkle blend called Leaf Peeping. And this has little clay bits of hearts and leaves. So I'm going to put one of the hearts by the give thanks, our sentiment. And then I'll sprinkle the other sequins and little tiny maple leaves that are in here. And the clay leaves I'll add by our florals on the bottom. Just cascading them here. And in a moment that'll all be dry, and I'll give you a quick close-up. These little clay leaves have such beautiful detail, and they have similar colors to our card. One more little maple leaf here to go. It's so cute and tiny. I'm having a hard time picking it up. And now I'm sticking to my finger. Okay, and then I think I'm going to add one more right about here. Oh, actually I had 2 more. Sorry about that. You can never have enough leaves. It's fall. No. Okay. And that's it. So let me get this all cleared out of our way so I can show you a close-up of our flowers, of our card. Yes, it has flowers. So here it is. The give thanks. You can see all the shimmer and shine from the background and the texture that we get from the burlap and the creative medium, the shimmer from our sentiment, and our flowers. So we use our VersaMagic inks today. our tear tape, our creative medium, and our on-point glue to create this card. Like always, I'll have everything listed in the description box below with links, and I hope you found some inspiration. Thank you for being here.